Hey, what up? It's Brad with Home Love Construction, and in this video, I'm gonna be talking to you about steel beams. But before I do, hit the subscribe button below. We are looking to build this channel up to be the go-to construction information channel for homeowners about renovations on their homes. Like, if you think about, oh, I wanna do something to my bathroom, I gotta go see what Brad has to say about it. If you could hit the subscribe button below, it would help me on that mission a lot, because the more subs we get, the more people we reach, the more projects we do, the more we learn and bring it back to you right here. So getting into it, steel beams. A lot of people are afraid of steel beams. A lot of people are like, ooh, oh my gosh, I want to add some steel beams. Some people are like, don't even talk to me about steel beams. They cost $1 million a foot. Here's the deal. There's a couple things to know about this. And I'll start with whether they should be a conversation for you in your project or not, and why your contractor might not be bringing them up. So if you have a span, like the reason you would need a steel beam is to support something up high, that like a roof or a second story or something like that, that needs, basically there's something there supporting it and you want to take it away, and the span, like the distance from load bearing points, is greater than about 22 feet. 22-ish feet is about the most you can get out of a wood beam. You can get some a little bigger, like I've done one 26 feet. That was a 4-ply, 16-inch LVL. That's as big as they go. But most of the case, if you're above 22 or 23 feet, you wind up getting into steel. So first off, if you're not hearing it, like at all from your contractor, it's because you're just not going long enough to need it, which is not a bad thing because wood is less expensive to work with than steel. The other thing is there's more people who work with wood than steel. That's another kind of factor here in the pricing. The second thing is, if you're going above a certain footage and your contractor just says, no, you can't do that, we'd have to do steel and that's not gonna work on this project. And I don't mean to blow up the contractors here, but look, I'm just saying this because I used to do this. It's probably because that contractor isn't experienced in working with steel beams and they're just not sure who they'd get the beam from, who they'd get to install it, who they'd have to weld it, how they would get the framers to tie into it. They're just not sure of the mechanics and they don't want to confront it, so they're just being like, it's not an option. So realize that steel is always an option. You can put it into almost any residential application you want to, and literally you can go crazy with it if you want. Anyways, I'll spare you the stories, but we've done it in some different scenarios and it's interesting how it works out, but it's not a bad thing and it's not that hard to work with once you've done it. So realize that your contractor may not be experienced with steel, which is why he may be saying it's not an option for your project. So let's talk about costs for a minute, because there are more costs with a steel beam versus a wood beam of the same size. Let's say you're doing a 25-foot beam and you could do it out of steel or wood. Like the engineer has a way you could do it out of wood. Take the wood option because frankly, it is a little bit faster, it's cheaper, and it's gonna have less potential problems for the contractor. Down the road, the steel is like, I mean, you would want steel if you can afford it and if it's not a big deal for your contractor to put it in, but the wood is gonna be just fine as well. So as promised, let's actually talk about cost. 25-foot beam, one's wood, one's steel. The steel is going to be roughly, and this is a rough order of magnitude here, for a 25-foot beam, you're probably gonna be around 7K for wood, including the posts and everything you're gonna have to do to get it in there. Steel is gonna be right around 15K for the same size of beam. So you're about double the cost. In some instances, it could even be higher depending on how you have to tie the steel into the rest of the structure. So you're talking about 2 to 3x the cost from wood to steel. Now, if you have a situation where, let's say like we're looking at a project right now with somebody who has a living room that is 40 by 40. So literally this living room is about 1,600 square feet and they've got a big ugly wall that runs right through the middle of it. And it actually used to be a wall. Now it's just a thing that drops down from the ceiling about 2 feet. Basically there's a huge beam up there and they have a fireplace in the middle that they hate and want to get rid of. It's a house in Florida on the water with a fireplace. Why the hell would you need that? So they want to get rid of all that, but they're like, oh, we'd have to do a steel beam in order to go that 35 feet. And they get on a call with me and I'm like, so let's just do the steel beam. What's the problem here? because we're talking about a very, very major, massive renovation, like 7-figure renovation. And so adding the steel beam is less than 1%, or actually no, it's a little more. It's like a couple percent of the total budget. It's like, why would you not just do the steel beam, guys? Like I would feel wrong not doing it, because we can take it and totally open it up. And in an instance like that, you want to do a steel beam. Like if you're gonna be able to make your two 800 square foot living rooms combined into one huge, massive one, and have the ceiling be totally flat and see no supports at all through the whole thing, that's a worthwhile expenditure. That's the 30 grand that they're gonna spend to put that beam in there is completely 100% worth it. It's actually worth more. Like I'm like, damn, I wish I would have seen this house and bought it and just put the steel beam in and resold it. Like you could literally increase the price of the house by 200, 300, 400K just by taking out that middle wall, putting the beam in and having it be totally open, because now it's just one of a kind. Like there's no house like that anywhere near it on the water. So that said, there's some really high-end applications where being able to work with and think with what you can do with steel will make all the difference. So just realize that if your contractor is saying no to steel and they're just like, don't do it, it's not a good idea, they might not have the experience in working with the steel that they would have to have in order to say, yeah, it's a good idea. So that's just one thing. And again, I'm not trying to just bash on other contractors here. I don't do that in my videos. I'm saying that because I used to do that. Like I used to say, no, you don't want to do steel, it's bad. In reality, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck to do with steel. But then I did it for the first time and I'm like, oh, this isn't bad at all. And now I'm like, oh yeah, we can do steel here and here and here. Because once you do it, you see what the possibilities of it are and how easy it is actually to work with. Another thing is people don't realize that when you have a welder there, a welder can do almost anything they want with the steel. They can take two pieces and literally you could have it cut in half. They can take the two pieces, mend them back together, and they're now stronger than the original one piece was. So structurally, you can play with it and do whatever you want and extend it and retract it. It's very easy, and they can just take the torch and just cut off a piece of the steel. It's sick. If you ever get to see somebody do some metalworking with steel, it's amazing. You should go watch them do it. That said, I hope this kind of gave you a little bit of the basic information around steel beams, why to do them, why not to do them, why you might not be hearing about them from your contractor. If you have a project where you're like, I think I need a steel beam, and I think I need to go, I want to do a 30-foot span that's going to hold up the roof above it or something like that, and you're just not sure how to design it or whatever, call Home Love Construction. We can help you with this. You can actually go to homelove.construction/design, and you can see what our design process is about. One of the later steps of our design process is figuring out the structural components. And we are no holds barred with what we'll do with structural components. That we literally will not take no for an answer from an engineer. We literally don't take it for an answer. We say, if he says you can't do that, we say, okay, good, fine. How can we do it? And he'll say you can't do it. Okay, if we did do it, how would we have to do it? And eventually they'll spit out an answer and we say, okay, well, let's just do that. Mr. Homeowner, here's the cost. Ready to do it? Let's go. So if you're looking for somebody who's solution-oriented on design versus can't do that oriented, Home Love Construction is probably the perfect fit for you. So again, go to homelove.construction/design and we can help you with the design and the build aspect of your project. Thank you for watching. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next vid. Peace.